Hey folks, so I'm going to show y'all a really good way to harvest worm castings. So I don't know if this is a fig or just a weed, but it looks almost like a fig, so I'm going to see if this fig survived. But let me get these out of the way. Sometimes you plant things and they don't survive. And one thing is when you have a tray of water, it breeds mosquitoes, tadpoles, but also wasps enjoy drinking from it, and it could help lead yellow jackets to your property. And I've noticed some in the corner I need to tend to. But anyway, you can always put some coins in here, and that will keep the mosquito larvae from developing, especially with the copper or zinc. But I'm going to drain this water and show you how to harvest the worm castings. When you look underneath, and you have some debris, but you also have let me show you, like here's some dirt. This here, these are worm castings, and there really isn't a lot under this one. So now I'm going to go look for another one where I could find some worm castings under. So I have some more pots. I had planted some bulb cypresses that I bought off Etsy, and they came bare root. I had two grow. This one died, that arbor vitae I propagated, and this one died as well. It grew and then died, so I'm a little disappointed in that, but I have one there that's still alive. So let me drain this, and we'll see. So looking underneath, I still do not see worm castings underneath this one. It's been so dry that there hasn't been enough rain that maybe there aren't a lot of worms. So we're going to try again. Okay, now I'm going to check some figs and mulberries that I have. So we're going to see if we have any. This water can smell when it gets stagnant, but I'm going to try to drain this. Sometimes if it's really full, you have to drain it carefully. Yes, this is what I've been looking for. You have to drain it carefully in order to not break these, because they're typically flimsy. So I have a container, and you see all this right here? These are worm castings, and you have a couple slugs. So I'm going to use this tool I actually found digging to plant another plant. I didn't even have to discover it with my metal detector. So I'm going to first remove the slugs. Okay, I got them out. Oh, I thought I got them out of the way. Let's fling it over. Okay, so I have a container, and I'm actually going to just run this down. You see how they drop right into the container. Now, there's something also with containers I'll be showing you in a moment, but first I'm just showing you how you can scrape the worm castings. So basically the worms get under here. They detect moisture because what's under here doesn't evaporate, and then they come and then they run through these channels and they poop. And then you can get nice, pure, unadulterated worm castings. You look at all these worm farm type things, and then they give you, like, you make a worm soup or stuff, and then I'm like, how pure are the worm castings? Now, concurrently, when you look at the ground here, you have some other worm castings that are on the ground, and there will be a little debris, but not much. It's very pure, and if you're not grossed out, you can actually pick these up with your hands and fit them in here. But look at all these worm castings. Now, the thing I mentioned that I was going to tell you in a moment that you would find useful as useful information, look at all of that, is when you buy these trays. So let me show you what I mean by that. This is a tray that I recently removed from the ground where I had water in it with plants, and this is one I pulled the other day. When you look at them, this one, the way the channels are, there are all these indentations. This one, it's just continuous all the way through. If you can find some designed that way where it's continuous all the way through versus having these cutoffs, it allows more worms to get underneath and can give you a higher yield of worm castings underneath each tray. They probably designed them this way and modified the design. either just by chance, someone's style, or to prevent worms from wanting to go under there. So typically you would find more worm castings under here than here, but if it's on ground and the ground is uneven, worms will still get under here, but that's just something to consider when buying these trays if you're going to use this method for harvesting worm castings. So I removed some figs off this tray, and one thing I want to show you when harvesting worm castings, when I lifted this up, you see here the worm castings look brown, and here that's dark. These are actually worm castings. These which appear to be worm castings are actually, if you look here, the mud from next to the fabric had seeped through and formed that. So these are not worm castings, these are. So this is one thing you want to do. So then when you harvest, you want to make sure that you are going to only be adding the worm castings unless you want a little bit of the red clay or whatever type of native soil is in your area. And as you can see, these I'll just leave. I can scrape them off to allow worms to come through, but I'm actually getting rid of this one because it's broken. So I'm going to chuck it aside. And you see all these worm castings here. I can come up and just scoop them up. Try not to cut into the fabric. Now, one nice thing about this method for harvesting worm castings, it may be a little more work, but it also allows you to not have to have extra stuff in your yard, like a compost bin for worm castings, like a worm composter, or something like that. So that's the beauty of this. So then you can have a regular compost bin and not one specifically for the worm castings. But these are some good tidbits for harvesting your own worm castings from underneath your own plant trays. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching and happy planting.